right, this is Miss Collins. This is April 22nd, 2022. Guess where I'm going? Okay? I'm going right back down to that management office. I've been receiving a total of 3 emails back and forth in regards to my calculation. Okay. I don't think you all know. You don't know, do you? You don't know, do you? Okay. All right, we're heading towards this management office. Okay, the emails were going back and forth between me and the assistant property manager. You don't know? I think you need to give Miss Gibbs a call and ask her about me. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Whew. Here we go. Right here. I'm coming back from physical therapy. Torn meniscus. Coming back. Nobody here. What time is it? 11:38. Okay, hold on. I'm so tired. I'm in the management office. There's nobody at the front desk. I'm tired and I'm frustrated. It's like the repeated frustration, the repeated trauma, the repeated unnecessary, just totally unnecessary. All right, let's see. Still nobody here. Okay. Okay, so I'm still sitting in this management office, and I went to the back. And I spoke to the assistant, the housing assistant, and I explained myself. I said, there's no reason why your assistant manager is calculating my income. If I sat with the property manager himself and I sat with the housing assistant, why didn't the assistant manager allow the housing assistant to move forward and do what he needs to do, take the paperwork and do what he needs to do the math? I don't care whether she heard me. I don't care whether I don't even care, because I'm at a point right now where I'm frustrated. I'm tired. I'm tired. So this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. All this fluctuation in mathematics calculations is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I'm not gonna go back and forth with that. I'm not. That's something from her. Okay, so I'm leaving the management office. You need to let your housing assistants do their job. Okay? I'm talking to you, because there's a system that you got inside there. It's an internal system, and that is a system that you are using to calculate residents' rent. Okay? And it is a manual system. It is a key in, click, drop down manual. Whatever information you put into that system, whether it's right or wrong, the system is going to grab it. If you put something in to that system in the amount of 132 and it should be 122, the system is going to grab 132 because that's what you put in. So yeah, the juice is loose. Okay? And it's in the wrong hands, which is my hands. But everything happens for a reason. You know why? Because I'm a child of God and you're messing with me. God don't like people touching his anointed. He said, touch not my anointed and do my prophet no harm. Okay? So stay ready. Okay? Stay ready. Okay. This is Miss Collins. Today is May 2nd. Okay, guess where I'm going? Let me tell you something, New York City Housing Authority, because I know you're watching these videos. Don't let the gray hairs fool you. I do not grow weary. I do not. Nor do I change. I don't change. So, with that being said, I'm on my way to this management office. Mr. Griffith, you're at the window again. Okay. I'm generally here because tickets were put in for the mold, right? On my ceiling. Okay? The ticket opened up in February 2022. Mr. Griffith, you are a housing assistant. You are constantly at this window. Okay? And I don't understand why. Okay? I came here repeatedly. My name is Ms. Collins. I came here repeatedly requesting your assistance in terms of my rental calculations, which I still believe is incorrect. But, nevertheless, your assistant property manager insists on doing the calculations, even though she made it very clear to me on pointless days that she's not familiar with how to do the calculations, or the property manager himself. This is what was said to me. Okay? You are trained, you are skilled to do rental calculations. You know the bylines, you know the policies and procedures, so forth and so on. I'm sure you were trained and then you were shown. Nevertheless, let's go back to these mold tickets that went in February, ticket opened up February 18th, 2022. Okay? That information should be in your system. Okay? It's in your system. Someone was supposed to come to my apartment between 8 and 12. What time does it show on your computer, Mr. Griffith? 12:31. Okay. My location in regards to my apartment and this management office is less than a mile. It's less than a feet. It's less. It's right across the street. No twists, no turns, just diagonal. Okay. I was told that the supervisor was supposed to come to my apartment, which is the gentleman that just walked up that you just spoke to. That was the supervisor.
Yeah, that's the
Supervisor of maintenance. Okay, so he's in this office. And there's no one in my apartment to test that ceiling for mold. The rain had, please do not try to initiate an alibi in regards or any excuses on behalf of maintenance. Okay? Rain has nothing to do with it. There's, as you can see, I'm here, despite the rain. Okay, but that has nothing to do, I understand that, but it has nothing to do with tickets that were put in since February. We are now in May. Trying to make up excuses? Keep talking.
or put a drill out. Okay. Let's see. What time?
Why is he covering the front? He's a housing assistant. He's covering the front desk repeatedly. This is what I'm talking about. Like, what is he doing here? Covering switchboard when he should be at his office.
Yeah.
Yes, so
Okay. All right. Yeah, you have my full attention.
Okay, so Mr. Griffith, I am one of your residents. You cover the building that I reside in.
Yeah.
Okay, and I brought this to your attention in terms of these mole tickets.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just going to leave it in your lap because this is one of your buildings and I'm your resident. If I come to you and ask to see you in regards to any of my issues, whether it's rental calculations, whether it's apartment disrepairs and so forth, I should be allowed to speak to you, okay? You should not be restricted in terms of speaking to me. Because according to your assistant property manager, in an email, multiple emails, she said if you have any questions or concerns, speak to your housing assistant, yes? Yes. Okay, so with that being said, whether you're covering the desk or not, if I'm here to see you, then she need to find somebody to sit in this front desk right here so I can speak to you. Okay, so we are now, it's about after 12, and it said, the person that I spoke to at the call center said someone will be coming to your apartment between 8 and 12. My son is at the apartment. No one is there. I have my earbuds in. If anyone came, he would notify me. But with text message, I'm not getting any notifications. So I'm going to walk back to my apartment. And if I receive a knock at the door going forward, it's my option and my willpower whether I open it or not, because the allotted time has elapsed. Yes? Okay. In addition to that, I repeatedly complained in regards to this rental calculation pertaining to a particular resource. If this resource, this entity allocates funds on behalf of me and my child for housing, rent, and shelter, that is the only funds that the New York City Housing Authority should be utilizing. Any other funds that are utilized from this particular resource or any other resource is fraud. So I'm just going to say that and leave that with you, Mr. Griffith. Okay? Thank you, sir. You're not going to take funds that you feel like at your leisure, at whatever convenience you feel, and just utilize it towards rent. That's fraud. You can't do that. Okay? If Social Security or whatever you want to call it, issue funds to you, any additional funds that are issued for something else, you are not supposed to use it because you feel you can. New York City Housing Authority. That's fraud. So I'm just letting you know, fraud is fraud. You call it as you want. Period. Okay? That's fraud. Okay, so it's approximately, what time is it? It's 12:42. Okay? So between me being at that property management office and me being in front of my door, easy breezy. So my thing is this. One, if I put in a ticket for mold, me personally, New York City Housing Authority, you know my medical condition in regards to mold. We've been there, done that. You put these new people at this management office located at 575 Howard Avenue, Brooklyn, right? Park Rock Rehabs. You put these new people in office, in that management office, and they don't know the ins and outs in terms of what's going on with the development within itself or the residents in the development. Wrong move. Secondly, it was brought to my attention that staff has been instructed to keep only 6 months of documents in a resident's file. So that means all legal documents. I don't care whether it's 2010, 2015, 2014, 2020, 2021, they are instructed to allegedly destroy those documents, legal court documents, really? Okay, so let's just be very clear. You, New York City Housing Authority, you cannot take it upon yourself or your staff to allegedly take it upon themselves, and I can prove it. I can prove. You have not seen or known me not to be able to prove anything. Okay. You cannot take it upon yourself or your staff cannot take it upon themselves to allegedly take from Paul to feed Peter when it comes down to rent. Because this is the reason why a lot of residents are complaining about their rent increasing. You have tons and tons and tons of residents who refuses to do their annual, and therefore it causes a deficit. So in order to close that deficit, in order to fill that gap, you allegedly increase residents' rent, allegedly, fraudulently, whatever the case may be. You allegedly attack other residents in regards to rent calculations, in regards to, really? You cannot take whatever you want from a federal or a city entity that is providing resources on behalf of a resident and use it to your whatever you feel like doing. Okay? If this particular resource or entity is allocating funds to you solely for rent, housing, or shelter, that is all that you are to utilize. If you are utilizing any other funds that this entity, this resource, so forth and so on, is allocating to this particular household, if you are using any additional funds other than the funds that are being sent to you specifically for housing, rent, and shelter, that's incorrect. That's fraud. Okay? That's fraud. So, how are you proving that? How can I prove it? You don't want to ask me that. You don't want to ask me that because documents can't lie. Documents cannot lie. Black and white can't lie. Black and white documents, etched in stone, cannot lie. You have an internal application that you are using thanks to your management level who took it upon themselves to email me snapshots of these internal, yes, screens of these internal applications that was emailed to me, brought to my awareness that there is an internal application that is used to do recertifications, and this application is a manual application. It's a manual application. It's whatever you key in, whatever an individual keys in to that system, that is what the system will take and generate rent. If someone is getting paid on a monthly basis and the source who is utilizing, or the individual who is utilizing this internal application, clicks on weekly, the computer will generate your rent based upon what is implemented. Okay, so let's just be clear. If a resident is getting paid or receiving funds on a bi-weekly basis, you cannot click your drop down and then select weekly, because that is fraud. Okay, if a resident is getting paid weekly, vice versa, that is, and you clicked on something else, that is fraud. So, if you are receiving funds from an entity solely for the purpose of rent, shelter, and housing, and then you take it upon yourself to take income from this very same resource that is not allocated to you for rent, shelter, and housing. That is fraud. Okay, so let's just be clear. You need to get it together, New York City Housing Authority, because thanks to your management who took it upon themselves to gracefully email me screenshots of your internal application showing me exactly how recertification rent is calculated. It's manual. It's based upon what is implemented by an individual. The system doesn't go ahead and just take everything the system doesn't pull information from anywhere and calculates the rent. No, and I can prove that. It's what the housing assistant property manager, whomsoever will, it's what they input. It's what they key in. And then there's a drop-down selection that either says your income is being calculated on a weekly basis, semi-monthly basis, bi-weekly, so forth and so on. So if something is supposed to be semi-monthly and someone clicks on weekly, that's going to cause your rent to skyrocket high. Now, let's just be clear. I am not in the position to fill in your deficit. And it was also brought to my attention that housing assistants have to meet a quota. When was that told to you, Ms. Collins? It was told to me April 14th. With April 14th, 2022. Housing assistants have to meet a quota. Really? A yearly quota. So therefore, if they don't meet that quota, what's going to happen? What's going to happen if they don't meet that quota? So that's why other people's rent is increased in order for them to fill in that deficit, that gap. That's what you do? That's crooked. It's no more crooked than an NYPD who's writing a fake ticket in order to meet their quota. So that's what the city does? City to city? That's what y'all do? That's corrupt. Anyway, I'm not going to do that. I'm about to release the dragon, because let me tell you something. That's criminal for you to bump up someone's rent because you either want to remove them or you want to retaliate against them or you want to, who's doing that? Who's doing that? You tell me who's doing it. New York City Housing Authority. Who's doing it? Let someone come in. I challenge anyone. I challenge you, New York City Housing Authority. I am asking for every single development, every single management office per development to be audited by a neutral party. Audited by a neutral party. Every file pull, every rent recalculated, everything. I don't care. By someone who is skilled, seasoned, and knows how to calculate rent. Who knows? Who's going to be over, whose work will be overseen. Work will be overseen by somebody who's senior level to them and who's just as seasoned. Let's see what's really happening here. Let's shed some light on what's really happening here. Okay, let's sift the wheat. Ms. Collins, thank you for the FYI. The screenshots of your internal application. Corrupt. Ms. Collins. Done.